Hey guys, Micah from blackbearcustomkydex. Today we're going to do a brief video about my Leatherman OHT holsters. So this is the Leatherman OHT. Stands for one-handed tool, and the reason why is because it's designed to operate every component of it with just one hand, which I think is just really brilliant. It's a super versatile tool, and as far as the individual tools on it go, they are some of my favorite in the Leatherman lineup. The versatility of this, the weight, the size, everything about it makes it my top pick for a multi-tool all around. Leatherman is my favorite multi-tool company, by the way, but the OHT specifically for me is the best of the best. I'd love your opinions down below, though. Let me know what you think of the OHT. Let me know what your favorite Leatherman is, and let me know what your favorite multi-tool is overall. Maybe there's another company producing something you like more than Leatherman. SOG, Gerber, there's a lot of them out there making quality stuff. So let me know your thoughts down below. All right, so years ago, when I was still pretty early on, I think about 6 years ago, somebody had contacted me about making a holster for their Gerber MP600, and that also has out the front pliers. So that was the very first multi-tool holster that I did for anything having, it might have been my first multi-tool holster actually, but certainly the first OTF pliers multi-tool that I worked on. So I made the holster and then posted it on Instagram or YouTube or something, and it got a little bit of attention. Somebody else wanted one. Somebody else wanted one. Eventually, somebody asked, "Can you make one that deploys the pliers for you?" I think the reason they asked was because I was doing sheaths for like the Spyderco PM2 and other folding knives where the blade would deploy as you draw. So those auto deployment kind of parlor trick sheaths translated over in this guy's head to multi-tool. So I started tinkering with the MP600 holster. I eventually figured out that I could get it to work, and by accident I figured out that that same sheath would also collapse the pliers as you put it back into the holster. So I was really pleased with that little discovery. So was the customer, and the video I posted on that got a ton of views. I think it's I could be wrong here, but I want to say it's something like 50,000 views, which is way more than most of my videos get. So I was super overwhelmed by all the inquiries that I got after that. And sadly, I ended up having to discontinue the OHT, or sorry, not OHT, MP600 holsters because Gerber's manufacturing tolerances were just really poor. By that, I mean, I had calculated at the height of it that 6 out of 10 holsters that I made for the MP600 required me to ship 3 times. 1, to get it to the customer. 2, to have them send their tool and the holster back to me. And 3, to ship their tool and their refitted holster home. The reason I was having to do that is because I would make sure that every single one worked perfectly with my MP600, then I'd ship it out the door. But it wouldn't necessarily fit the customer's MP600. And so this just became a huge point of contention on the whole thing. Every customer was satisfied in the long run. They understood the situation, and I made sure to take care of them. But you can understand from a business owner perspective where that is a terrible business model for me to follow. And if I'm working with a product that is inconsistent like that, it's just not worth it. So I discontinued the MP600s. But before I did, somebody asked me, can I do one for the OHT? So they sent me their tool. I made the holster, seemed to work okay, and I had more and more inquiries into it after that. Eventually, this became my best-selling product, and I wanted to update the design from where it was to this. So I made a trim template. I had this whole process kind of designed and streamlined to where I could produce this quickly, efficiently, and with absolutely identical results every time. And the OHT, luckily Leatherman's manufacturing standards are higher than Gerber's, so the OHT comes out pretty much identical every time, and I haven't had any real fit or issues like that, so it's just been really smooth sailing. I love making these. I think this is a great product, and I've been very happy with them for a long time. Like I said, for about 2.5, 3 years, the OHT holster that you're looking at right now was my best selling product. Now there are a couple things about it that I don't like, mostly to do with the fit and the tech lock. So this is only the back half of a tech lock. I use it as a drill template, so that's why it's here for demonstration purposes. This is what the full tech lock actually looks like. So as far as the tech lock goes, notice that the tech lock fits into these holes here, but notice two things. One, it's really low, so the tool ride's pretty high. And number two, it's really far off center. And no matter what, if you're mounted to the side of a sheath and you go to draw, there's going to be a little bit of a resistance point where it wants to tilt like this. If you're wearing a rigid belt, it's not really an issue. All that force here, holding here, translates over and it stays rigid and you can draw and there's no problems. But if you're wearing a flimsy belt, you wind up with this wanting to cant on you, and that just is not really acceptable. In everything I build, I try to make it, whether it's a holster, a knife sheath, a multi-tool holder, I try to make the balance point and the resistance point on the clip in line with the weight of the knife, because that's where it's going to want to resist, and it just makes the most sense. It makes the smoothest draw if you do it like that, but it's not always possible. And with this particular tool, that was the situation we were left with. Now, the other thing I don't like about this, and it's not that I dislike it, it was just as kind of part of the streamlining of processes, trying to get manufacturing processes down. And, you know, I'm doing these all by hand. I don't have like a team. I don't have any automation involved for the most part. I do use a CNC machine sometimes to make molds for things, but that's about it. So what I didn't like was the process of heating it up and trying to put these dimples on the backside. So after forming this all, after riveting it, I would try to impart this click-in retention by getting these two divots, and those just kind of lock in behind these 2 points of the scale. So the divots are like right where my fingertips are, and it gives you that little click-in retention right there. And so it does add a lot to this and makes it a nice end product, but the process of doing it I wasn't real pleased with. So fast forward another couple years, a lot of people have ordered these, and I thought, you know what, it's time for a fresh design. It's time to use my skills with CAD, which is computer assisted design, and with CNC machining to create myself a new design, a new mold for it. And that's what this is. So I wanted to keep all of the same basic features and functions, but update some other ones, swap some other ones out, and make everything just overall a better process. So with vacuum forming, essentially what it looks like is step one, you grab a piece of Kydex, you heat it up, and you vacuum form it over the face of it. Step two, you remove that, you flip it over. These drill points, these little cones all over it, put a little 90-degree divot on the underside of the Kydex, so when you flip it over, your drill bit tracks perfectly into that little cone and you get precise drill locations. So that's step two, is, you know, demold and drill it out. Step three, use a trim template to cut the overall shape out of the freshly formed piece. And step four is to heat this center line up, bend it over, add your eyelets and what goes in this big bulgy compartment here, and I'll explain all that in a moment. So yeah, the process is a lot faster, it's more streamlined, it's and it gives you more precise results. So I was very, very pleased when I turned out my first vacuum formed OHT holsters. So this is what those look like. And just to give you the quick comparison, this, yes, it's got the click-in retention. This does not. It's got adjustable retention, and I'll show that to you in just a moment. But as you draw, you get deployment. As you reholster, it collapses those pliers for you, and you can even pinch the pliers together to prevent them from deploying and draw like that. So I wanted to have all those same features. So you have, whoops, what did I do wrong? I dialed up the retention too much. Yeah, there we go. So you get the auto deployment. As you put this in, it collapses the pliers for you, and you can pinch them together to prevent them from deploying. So you get those same features with this. In addition, you get this. This is a mag retention device. This is what it looks like when it's not hidden by the holster. And it's got a little set screw right there. So you can use a 1/8 inch Allen key or hex bit, and you can tighten or loosen that. And you can see that little tab moving out. All that really does is it pushes into the sidewall of your tool and squeezes it between the MRD and this sidewall here, and it manufactures extra retention. So you can adjust your retention by just tightening that down, and the cant that it puts on the tool is indiscernible. You can't really see it. So yeah, just again, this works really, really nicely. But if I wanted to, I could just crank this up and make it almost impossible. So if you do carry an Allen key with you on the daily, if you have something like that, you might consider even putting it in the holster and then turning it a few times just to lock it so that it can't fall out, can't be taken off your belt, whatever. And then when you need to use it, you can dial that back down and boom, you're good to go. That's just a thought. I personally wouldn't bother, but in case you're interested in something like that, you can absolutely do that. So that in essence is my OHT holster that you'd get now. So this is the standard, the featured product, I would call it. I guess generic in a sense. It's the option that you would receive if you just went on my website and bought a holster for the OHT. It comes with the tech lock. You don't have to buy that separately or anything. And MRD included, all this. This is what you receive minus the tool itself, obviously. Now, let's go ahead and fast forward to, well, this hasn't been around for very long, but this is the current design. Now, I had a customer named Dylan reach out to me and ask, can I do a custom one with black carbon fiber kydex, adding a flashlight holder to it, and he wanted to put leather over the kydex. Originally, he asked, can I do the whole thing leather clad? I said no, which is not something I say very often to customer inquiries. I'm one of those guys that likes to take challenges on. So if something sounds wacky and fun and cool, I'm probably willing to lose my lunch on it just to do it, because I love tinkering. I love problem solving, all that. But this was one problem that I knew I wouldn't be able to solve. The reason is because with vacuum forming, you get really, really tight and crisp fit. And with all the harsh angles on this and angle changes, high depth changes, things like that, the leather was just never going to bond seamlessly to the face of this. It would always have some spots where it wouldn't stick down quite enough, and that would just create problems over time. So I didn't want to create a product that was subpar, and so I said no. But I offered an idea of just putting a patch over the face of it. He seemed to like that idea. So what I did was I added a little piece of craft wood. It's about a 1/16 inch thick, and super glued it right to the face of the mold like so. Then I formed my shell. It forms with that little raised face. And in that raised face, that gives me a location to put the leather. It also gives me so essentially a recess like I normally do for hardware, only this time it was for the thread. I did bond the patch of leather to the kydex, so it is bonded. It is a really, really tight, strong bond. However, I was just uncomfortable with the idea that maybe he's getting in and out of a car a lot. Maybe the seat belt would hit this, and over time, it could start to peel an edge up or something like that. I don't know. But the mechanical connection of some really strong thread would really give me some peace of mind. So I saddle stitched this on there with doubled up, very, very durable thread. So this is not going anywhere. Now you can see inside the thread is kind of up there in that raised area. So the tool will never make contact with the thread, which means it'll never start to fray that thread. So it should be safe and good to go pretty much for a lifetime. So I can't see any foreseeable issues with that. Now, as far as the flashlight holder goes, all I did was I made a flashlight holder and I just put it onto the system behind it. It does have a little bit of a weird shape. If you were to take the tech lock off, you'd see that the edge of the holder is carved down for like a little bit of an angle like this. It's got a little swoop taken out of it. And the reason was because I wanted to be able to put the tech lock directly onto the holster there, but go through the flashlight holder for the bottom two. So it is connected via 2 points to the flashlight holder and via 3 points to the holster itself. So there you go. So I'm really pleased with this. I think it looks really cool. I don't know what color his flashlight or his OHT are. I'm kind of hoping they're both black. But this is the Olight i3T EOS. This is my light. It's the model that he wanted the holster to include. So I just told him he didn't have to send me anything. I have my own Leatherman. I've got my own Olight, so I can make this work and test fit it and all. There is one thing with the flashlight holder that I want to talk about. So with the pocket clip, you can see that the clip adds to the overall diameter by, I don't know, maybe a 16th overall, but that's a monumental difference when it comes to kydex. So as you just put this in, it kind of wants to stop right there. You can absolutely do that. This is a secure holder. It's not just going to fall out. It's a good friction fit. But if you really want to feel like it's super secure on there, what I would personally do is I would just, you can grip it from the sides and do it, but I feel like you get better force right on the end of it. I would just push the flashlight button just to seat it in there. You may turn on your light, so just be aware of that. You'd have to push it again to turn it off. But you can push that down to where the clip is flush with the top of your kydex. And the reason why this works is because I added a very slight taper just to this end of this piece. And it allows that pocket clip to hide inside there. But the pressure of it being inside there is quite substantial. So when you want to get this out, what you need to do is I would just put my thumb over the top of the tool and my index finger under the bottom of the light, and I would just pop it up like that. Once it pops free, it draws out nice and smooth and easy. So that's just personally how I would do it, like so, like that, and be done with it. But I'd love your opinions down below. Do you like how that turned out? Do you like that feature? Like I said, you can just leave it in there like that. It's perfectly secure. But if you want it to really be kind of like locked in place, same thing goes for the set screw there. You can really dial this stuff down and have it be in there nice and secure. So that's just my preference, but I'd love your opinions down below. Again, guys, let me know what you think of the OHT. Let me know what you think of Leatherman. What's your favorite multi-tool? Comment down below. What do you think of the evolution? I wish I had some of my earliers. I think this is like the 3rd or the 4th generation of my OHT holsters, but believe me, the early ones were not pretty. So this was a step in the right direction, but eventually I decided I needed to update and go to something more crisp looking. So here we are, present time with this. And now I'm noticing normally I cut a little angle in here just for aesthetics. You can see it on this one, so I'm not sure why I forgot to do it there, but I guess I'll be doing that before I sell this one to anybody. But let me know, guys, what you think of the custom order that Dylan placed, and any other comments you want to leave down below. I'd love to hear your opinions. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and stick around for the next video. God bless.